Hello there and welcome back to Growallotmore in 2021. We're up on the decking here where we have lots of daffodils. However, they're starting to go over now and they're putting their energy into their seed, so I'm just going to de-head these. And it's as simple as either twisting them off or just snipping them off with a pair of secateurs or scissors. It's really important that you don't actually cut back the foliage, as that will then give the energy back into the bulb later on in the season. Daffodils are actually really important to help pollinators into your plot. So for things like your cherries, apples, things like even peaches or nectarines. So they're actually a really important part of spring. So while I get on with this, why don't we have a look at some other things that are coming up in today's episode. In April, we'll be looking at how to sow parsnips. We'll be looking at the flowers that are growing around the site. We'll see what pests and diseases there are, and what there is to sow and grow. I'll demonstrate how to take your own euphorbia cuttings, provide you with a list of jobs to do, and show you what to harvest in April. So just going to do some parsnips now, and I've got a really good variety. It's called White Gem. It's always been really good for me. Some people soak these in tissue paper for about 24 hours just so they have good germination. However, I've never really struggled. So I prepared a bed, I've removed all the weeds from it and actually gave it a little bit of top compost. So first of all, I'm just going to rake the top just so it's got a nice tilth to it, and it just takes any of those weeds out from the top. Just take some of those out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the fork handle and bore a hole nice and deep, and what this will do is it will provide it with a channel for the root to go down, which hopefully means that it will stay really nice and long and straight, and it won't sort of fork and divide. So once you've done that, I've got some fresh compost. I'm just going to put that in top. And to finish that off, I'm only going to put a maximum of 3 seeds on top, and then if they all take, then what I'll do is I'll thin them out. So that's your 3. Those can go back in. And again, give that a little bit of a topping off. And that's what we're going to do all the way along. Hyacinth, one of my favourite spring flowering bulbs. They give an amazing scent and aroma, especially in the early morning or evening. However, some of them are starting to go over now, and to put the energy back into the bulb, we need to make sure we take those flower stems out. So this is one thing that is flowering now. Let's have a look at some more. Slugs, the common foe of the allotmenter and gardener, and hopefully I've found a natural solution to deal with some of them. This is a batch of nematodes, which are parasites that can infect the slugs with bacteria. And for this particular solution, I'll need half of this tub and a full watering can. So it's as simple as producing the solution, put it into a watering can, and then you apply it to the infected area. Now you'll need to do that at least 2 or 3 times and then reapply that in about 6 weeks' time. So this is one pest that I can deal with at the moment, but let's have a look at some others. Well, this is the time of year where you'll be doing a lot of seed sowing, and I've decided to invest in some really nice seed trays. I used to use these ones, which are quite thin and they break really easily. We still reuse these as crocks that go in the bottom of our pots to help with drainage. But you'll find that these will only last about 2 to 3 seasons, and that's sometimes if you're being really careful. I don't usually promote products, however, there is a company that I'll be listing in the description below, and these are absolutely brilliant. They are rigid plastic, and they come with really good drainage holes. Why is that important? It's because, say for instance, if I wanted to just pop out the seed plug, I can just put in a pencil and just push them out and they'll come out all in one, so it doesn't actually disturb the roots at all. Plus, these will last, I think, you're looking at least 10 to 15 years. They're UV resistant. Like I said, they're really hard, they're really rigid. That's quite a large tray, and they do come with all dimensions on the website, so have a look at that and please make sure you measure them out. What I particularly like is this tray here. It's a long root trainer. However, it comes with very big holes underneath and you can easily push your finger through, and this is going to be perfect for my beans. So I'm going to get on sowing and growing, so let's have a look to see what you can sow and grow in April. And here we have a euphorbia, one of my favourite plants. This one in particular has these beautiful purple stems and leaves and then goes into these green florets at the top. Now, I would like more of these plants, and this is the perfect time of year to start to do some cuttings. However, you do have to be careful as it produces a toxic latex when you cut it. Gloves are particularly useful as it won't then irritate your skin. This one in particular is quite a good example of a cutting to take, as it hasn't started to produce the flower stem. So I'm going to cut that back as far as I can get back. and you'll notice straight away that it starts to produce a latex sap, and that is what can be irritating to your skin. So we'll get this back to the greenhouse and show you the rest of the process. I've collected a few more, and there's actually a really good example of the sap. And like I said, that will become an irritant on your skin if you're not too careful. So take the leaves off, and again, be mindful of that sap, because it can be an irritant to your skin, and that's the reason why I wear a glove. Now, what you want to do next is produce a diagonal cut just under a leaf node. And you can dip the end into charcoal, and what that does is it seals the wound and it won't lose as much moisture then. Once you've sealed the wound with your charcoal, you want to have a mixture, a potting mixture that's got plenty of free drainage. Putting them down the side of the pot is the best place, because that's where generally they won't dry out. And then give them a little water, not too much. And then you'll have those establishing roots in a few months' time, and then you can pot them on. And then one or a couple that I've done earlier, so this was from last year's cutting, and that's a beautiful new plant. So here we are, got some lovely overwintered onions. They've done really well in these tubs actually, but they've taken up quite a lot of the nutrients from the soil. So it's really important that you give them a top up for any overwintering crop, so things like your kale, brassicas, and things like your onions as well as garlic. And I've just got some chicken manure in pellet form, which I find really good, but also things like fish blood and bone meal is also really good to add and incorporate into the topsoil. Also, just be mindful, just take out any of the weeds that you see, because this could take energy away from the plants. These were originally sets and they've done actually really well. So what I'm just going to do is just going to sprinkle this on the top and then just kind of mix this into the top layer, and then what will happen is that they'll then work down into the soil below and give plenty of nutrients. Now this is one job that you can be getting on with right now in April, but let's have a look at some more. It's a good idea to start thinking about installing water butts so you have water throughout the season. Start to think about hardening some plants off so they're ready to plant out in spring. This is the perfect time of year to start pruning your plum trees, as well as buddleia. Clean out any bird feeders and water baths and replace it with fresh seed and water. Blueberries are starting to form buds, and it's a good time of the year to add some ericaceous compost. If you see the rhubarb starting to go to flower, just trim these out so the energy goes into the stems of the leaves. Continue to weed, and you can also get your friends, or in our case, chickens, to help. It's a good time of year to start thinking about tidying up, as this will help later on in the year. If you've got raised beds, it's a good time of the year to top them up with fresh compost. And finally, it's good to rake over any of your beds and ensure fine tilth. This will help with any seeds that you're sowing. Here we have a lovely nectarine tree. We've actually got another one further up which will help with cross-pollination. However, just to make sure, I've got a lovely little makeup brush. I'm just going to rub the flower, stamen, and then transfer that onto another flower, and then hopefully that will provide us with the next tree this year. But while we're waiting for this to crop, why don't we have a look to see what else we can harvest in April. Well, this is the last job for us to do at Growallotmore today, and that's just to mulch around some of our rhubarb. But thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we get to see you in May. And you can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. But thank you, and I'll see you next time.